Let's cut to it. If you're constantly worrying, losing sleep, overthinking every conversation, or living in a loop of what ifs, let me tell you something. You're not broken, you're not weak, you're human. But just because it's human doesn't mean it's healthy. Worrying has become your default setting. And if you're not careful, it'll steal your peace, your time, your energy, and your life. See, nobody teaches us how to deal with our thoughts. We're taught to study, work hard, make money, chase success. But what about our inner world? What about that storm inside your head that never stops? If you're worrying too much, it's not because your life is harder than anyone else's. It's because you've created a habit, a mental loop that you're reinforcing every single day. But here's the powerful truth. The same way you wired your brain to worry, you can rewire it to be calm, confident, and clear. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about facing what's real and reclaiming your mental control. It's time to understand the real reason you worry too much, and it's not what you think. Let's dive into the 4 hidden triggers that are fueling your worry and how to break them for good. When your mind is constantly spinning with future scenarios, worry becomes your full-time job. You're not living your life. You're living a movie in your head that hasn't even happened yet. And most of the time, it's a horror film. You play out every possible worst-case outcome. What if I lose my job? What if they leave me? What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? The list is endless. This mental time traveling feels like you're being responsible or prepared, but it's a trick your brain plays on you. What you think is planning is actually fear wearing a disguise. Worry is your brain's desperate attempt to predict, control, and prevent the unknown. It's trying to keep you safe, but it's doing more harm than good. Because while you're busy living in the what-ifs of tomorrow, you're completely disconnected from what's real and present today. And the present is the only place you can actually live, breathe, take action, or make change. The reason this habit of worrying feels so automatic is because your mind has been conditioned to default to the future. Think about it. From a young age, you're taught to think ahead, study for the test next week, train for the career years down the line, plan for the future, prepare for uncertainty, get ready for what's coming. That's fine when you're organizing your calendar or setting goals. But the problem is when your brain turns this forward-thinking mode into a nonstop panic channel, you stop using your imagination for inspiration and start using it for destruction. And once that habit kicks in, it feels impossible to stop. But it's not impossible, it's just unconscious. And when you bring awareness to it, you can choose something different. Let's say you're sitting at home and suddenly your chest tightens because you remembered a meeting you have next week. Your brain instantly starts crafting worst-case scenarios. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I mess up? What if they think I'm stupid? You might call this thinking ahead, but what you're really doing is abandoning the present. You're not actually at that meeting. You're not messing up. None of that is happening right now, but your body doesn't know that. Your nervous system reacts as if the imagined threat is real, flooding you with stress hormones, triggering anxiety, and pulling you deeper into fear. The longer you stay in that mental loop, the more familiar and automatic it becomes. Before you know it, you're worrying about the meeting, the traffic before the meeting, the sleep you won't get the night before, and the judgment you'll feel afterward. And none of it is actually happening. It's all fiction, but you're feeling the fear like it's fact. Now, the antidote isn't to ignore the future or stop thinking completely. That's not realistic. The real solution is to train your brain to come back to the now, and you do that through grounding. It might sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When your mind starts spinning with future-based fear, you interrupt it with something present and physical. That could be taking a deep breath and noticing how it feels in your chest. It could be planting your feet on the ground and saying, I am here, I am safe. It could be naming 5 things you see in the room around you. These little actions pull your awareness back into your body, your breath, your actual life, not the story in your head. And once you're grounded, you can respond instead of react. You can decide whether that thought you had is worth following, or if it's just a worry trap you don't need to step into. Most importantly, you have to understand that you're not going to be perfect at this. Worrying is a deeply ingrained habit, and your brain has practiced it for years. But every single time you choose the present over the panic, you weaken the worry pattern and strengthen a new one. That's how change happens, not with a dramatic transformation overnight, but with hundreds of small choices to stay here, now grounded in what's real. The more you do it, the more your brain learns that the present moment is safe. And when your mind learns to trust the now, it doesn't feel the need to race ahead to every worst-case future. You stop trying to predict disaster and start living your life, one moment, one breath, one calm decision at a time. That's where peace lives, not in the perfect future, not in the solved problem, but right here, in the moment you stop worrying and start living. Let's be honest. When you're stuck in your own head, thinking about the same problem over and over again, it feels like you're being productive. It feels like you're working on it, fixing it, preparing for it, but you're not. What you're actually doing is spinning. You're not problem solving, you're overthinking. There's a huge difference between the two, and understanding that difference is one of the most powerful shifts you'll ever make. Overthinking keeps you stuck. It loops the same thoughts. It makes you feel worse the longer you do it. Problem solving feels clear. It's focused. It involves action. Overthinking, on the other hand, is all mental noise with no direction. It convinces you that if you keep thinking, eventually the right answer will just appear. But instead of clarity, you end up more confused, more drained, and more anxious than when you started. The mind loves to stay busy, and it's very clever. It will dress up anxiety in the costume of logic. You'll be up at 3 a.m., mentally rewriting a conversation you had yesterday or trying to plan every possible scenario for something that might happen next week. You tell yourself, I'm just trying to figure it out, but what you're really doing is avoiding a decision. That's what overthinking is at its core, a fear of making the wrong choice. So you keep gathering information, replaying scenarios, asking yourself 1,000 questions, but you don't move. You don't act. You stall. And the longer you stall, the more powerless you feel. This pattern becomes so familiar that you don't even notice it anymore. You catch yourself deep in thought and think it's just part of who you are. I'm just a thinker, you say. No, you're just stuck in a habit of letting fear guide your thoughts instead of clarity guiding your actions. The mind always wants to keep you safe, and one of its favorite tricks is telling you that if you just think a little more, worry a little more, plan a little more, everything will be okay. But here's the truth. Clarity doesn't come from more thinking. It comes from making a move. One step, one choice, one action, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, because that's what breaks the loop. Think about this. How many times have you worried about something for hours, days, or even weeks, only for it to pass without anything bad happening? Or maybe the problem happened, but you handled it better than you imagined. That shows you something powerful. Your brain is terrible at predicting the future. Worry convinces you that you need to be 100% sure before you act. But certainty is a myth. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to take a small step and trust that you can handle whatever happens next. Every time you choose action over endless thinking, you reclaim your power. There's also a deeper layer to this. Many people use overthinking as a form of protection. If you've been hurt before, embarrassed, rejected, or failed, your mind wants to make sure it never happens again. So it over-prepares, it over-analyzes, it over-controls. But the irony is, by trying to avoid discomfort, you create even more. Your brain becomes a place of constant fear and second-guessing, instead of peace and clarity. You can't move forward when you're too busy trying to protect yourself from every angle. Life doesn't work that way. Growth doesn't work that way. At some point, you have to decide that thinking about it isn't helping anymore, and that doing something about it is the only way forward. What helps most is learning to recognize the moment you cross the line. You'll feel it. The thoughts stop being helpful and start becoming heavy. They repeat. They paralyze. That's your cue. That's when you interrupt the pattern. You say to yourself, I'm not solving this, I'm spinning. And then you choose one thing. Just one. Maybe it's writing down your options instead of replaying them in your mind. Maybe it's making the call, sending the message, having the conversation, or setting the boundary. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Because once you start moving, the overthinking quiets down, And the more you practice this, the more your brain learns a new habit. One where fear doesn't lead and clarity isn't found in thought, but in action. That's how you break free. That's how you stop worrying and start creating the life you deserve. ChatGPT said, "Your brain wasn't designed to make you happy. It was designed to keep you alive. And that means it's wired to scan for danger, to look for threats, and to be alert for anything that could go wrong." This is great if you're being chased by a wild animal, but it's not so great when you're trying to live a normal modern life. The problem is, your brain hasn't evolved as fast as the world around you. So instead of actual danger, it now treats daily challenges, like emails, criticism, social rejection, money issues, or the fear of failure, as threats to your survival. That's why you find yourself in a constant state of worry. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you're overly sensitive. It's that your brain is doing what it thinks it's supposed to do, but it's misfiring in today's world. Every time you dwell on a negative outcome, every time you tell yourself, "This won't work out," or "I'll probably mess this up," you're reinforcing a mental pathway. Think of your brain like a trail in the forest. The more you walk the same path, the more defined it becomes. And negativity is a path you've walked so many times that it feels like the only road available. You probably don't even notice when you go down it. It just feels automatic. Someone doesn't text you back, and your mind immediately assumes they're upset with you. You get an unexpected bill, and you instantly panic about money. You make a small mistake, and you start questioning everything. That's not you being dramatic. That's your brain doing what it's been trained to do. Jump to the worst-case scenario. But here's the thing. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's helpful. And just because it's automatic doesn't mean you can't change it. The same way you trained your mind to lean into fear, you can train it to lean into calm, confidence, and clarity. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose through conscious repetition. You have to catch yourself in the middle of the negative spiral and choose a different thought. It's not about being fake or pretending everything is perfect. It's about interrupting a pattern that's not serving you and choosing something that does. One of the simplest and most powerful tools you can use is reframing. This means taking a negative thought and flipping it into a possibility instead of a problem. For example, if your first instinct is to say, "What if this all goes wrong?" you can immediately flip it to, "What if this actually works out better than I expect?" It might feel forced at first, it might feel cheesy, but that's only because your brain is used to the negative version. The more you practice the positive reframe, the more your brain learns that it's safe to expect good things too. And over time, that path gets stronger and more natural. This doesn't mean you'll never have negative thoughts again. You will. But now you won't believe them so easily. You'll recognize that voice of fear and say, "There you are again," and then choose something better. You'll become the observer of your thoughts, not the prisoner of them. And that's where your power lives. The goal isn't to eliminate all worry, it's to stop letting it run your life. Another thing to remember is that your brain is also incredibly influenced by what you consume. If you're constantly watching negative news, engaging in toxic conversations, or scrolling through social media accounts that make you feel like you're not enough, then you're feeding your brain more reasons to worry. Just like your body responds to the food you eat, your mind responds to the thoughts and input you feed it. You can't expect peace if you're surrounding yourself with fear all day long. So be mindful of your mental diet. Curate your environment. Choose uplifting content. Surround yourself with people who speak life, not doubt. Training your brain for positivity doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means refusing to let your thoughts be controlled by fear and reactivity. It means facing challenges with a mindset that says, "I can handle this instead of this will ruin me." It means being kind to yourself in the moments you fall back into old patterns and gently bringing yourself back to the present. Because every time you do that, you're building strength. You're building resilience. You're creating a new default setting, one that doesn't spiral into fear but steps into courage. And that's how you stop worrying. Not by waiting for life to calm down, but by learning to calm your mind, no matter what life throws your way. Nobody ever sat you down and said, "Here's how to calm yourself when your thoughts get loud." Nobody taught you how to pause when your chest tightens, when your heart races, when your mind starts spinning in every direction at once. You were taught how to solve math problems, how to read a textbook, how to plan your career, but no one gave you the tools to manage your own mind. And so when worry shows up, you panic, you feel overwhelmed, you shut down, or worse, you spiral. Not because you're weak, not because there's something wrong with you, but because you were never shown how to soothe your own nervous system. You've been surviving without a manual, and it's taken a toll on you. Worry thrives in silence. The more you try to fight it in your head, the louder it gets. The more you try to logic your way out of it, the deeper it pulls you in. Because worry doesn't respond to logic, it responds to presence. It responds to breath. It responds to calm. The truth is, your brain and body are constantly communicating. When your thoughts start spinning with fear, your body thinks you're in danger. It sends signals to prepare for fight or flight. Your breath gets shallow, your shoulders tense, your stomach clenches. You don't even notice it, but your body is reacting as if you're under attack. And unless you learn to interrupt that process, you stay trapped in it. The ability to self-soothe isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about learning how to create safety within yourself, even when the outside world feels uncertain. It starts with recognizing the moment your body goes into stress mode. Most people miss that moment. They go from calm to chaos without realizing there was a choice in between. That's why awareness is everything. When you catch yourself in that state, when you notice the tightening, the racing, the buzzing, you pause. That pause is your power. It's the space where you can decide not to go further into the spiral. And in that space, you do something simple but transformative. You connect to your body. One of the most effective ways to do this is by using your breath. It sounds too easy to be true, but your breath is the fastest way to calm your nervous system. Deep, intentional breathing tells your body, you're safe. You're not in danger. Try this. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 to 8 counts. Do it 3 times. You'll feel the shift. Your mind might still be busy, but your body will start to soften, and that softness creates space for clarity. Another powerful tool is grounding. When worry takes over, your thoughts float far into the future. Grounding pulls you back into the present. You can do this by placing your hand on your heart, feeling the weight of your body in the chair, or noticing 5 things around you right now. These simple actions remind your mind that you're here, not in some imagined disaster. They bring you back to reality, the actual reality, not the fearful version your brain is creating. You can also use words to self-soothe, not through positive affirmations that don't feel true, but through grounded, compassionate self-talk. Say things like, I'm okay right now, or I can handle this, or this moment will pass. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to a scared child, with patience, with love, with reassurance. That inner voice is powerful. It can either fuel your fear or calm it. You get to choose which voice you amplify. The more you practice these small acts of self-soothing, the more they become automatic. You build what's called emotional regulation, the ability to stay centered even when things feel shaky. This isn't about perfection. You'll still have moments of panic. You'll still spiral sometimes. But now, you'll have tools. You'll have something to reach for, and that changes everything. You stop being at the mercy of your thoughts. You stop reacting to every fear like it's a 5-alarm fire. You start responding with grace, with strength, with intention. This is the kind of power that doesn't scream. It's quiet, it's steady, and it's built, moment by moment, breath by breath. You don't need a complete life makeover. You need one moment of stillness. You need one breath that reminds you of your strength. You need one pause that interrupts the storm. That's how you start. That's how you stop letting worry run the show. You become the calm inside the chaos. And from that place, everything begins to change.